Hello everybody, it's your boy the Punk Otaku Scribe. Let's talk about foreign horror a little bit. I kind of feel like it's underappreciated by American audiences, and it's a shame because some foreign horror films have been some of my favorite horror films of all time. And it's not a very extensive list, but I do have a list of foreign horror films I'm just in love with. And I've added one more to that list with The Sadness.
我一直以为，如果我不去烦别人，就不会有人注意我，也不会有人伤害我。直到今天我才知道，不是这样的。
The Sadness is a Taiwanese horror film directed by Rob Jabaz that was released in January of 2021 in Taiwan, then later saw distribution in other markets later on in the year, eventually coming to the US at Fantastic Fest in September of 2021. I am completely late to this one. I did not see this when it first came out. Actually, the week I'm recording this video was actually the first time I saw it. Shame on me, I know, and I'm so mad at myself for sleeping on it. This movie is brutal and ultra violent, and it's vile and disgusting, and I love it so much. So at the beginning of our story here, we meet our main couple, Jim and Kat, and we meet them as their day's just starting. They're waking up in the morning. Kat has to go to work. Jim has to take Kat to work. They have a bit of banter about who gets to have the leftovers in the fridge from the night before. It's as boring and normal as a day as it is for anybody. And as Kat is getting ready for work, Jim goes out onto their balcony to have himself a cigarette, and looking out onto the rooftops of the neighborhood, he, just over there, sees an old woman. She's just standing there. Not really doing anything, just literally just standing there. And quickly, she goes from being a mysterious, curious old woman to someone that could be potentially menacing and threatening, because she has this really wide, creepy smile on her face. She almost seems too happy to be out there just doing nothing. And before Jim could really put together what he's seeing and even ask himself who that is, he gets distracted by Kat and then turns around and she's gone. And suddenly the atmosphere of the movie goes from being normal and boring to very disquieting. And then from here, after Jim and Kat get separated for the day, with Kat going to work, is when the shenanigans start. So Jim goes to this cafe, and he's just ordering himself some food. The old woman from before finds him, and she still has that smile on her face. Before anybody can realize what's going on, she takes the basket from the fryer, and she does something very, very brutal with it to the clerk behind the counter. And then suddenly everyone in the cafe starts hurting each other in similar brutal fashions. And from here, the movie just puts its foot on the gas pedal and does not let up. This movie is unbridled fury for 100 minutes all the way through, and it doesn't let up. And by the end of it, because of just how vigorous and rough and aggressive it is, when it's over, you feel like you've had this like emotional purge, whether it's something that makes you uncomfortable or you feel like you just let something off your chest. It's just that aggressive. That's what this movie does best to me, I feel, is it ramps up. It just keeps going and going and going and outdoes itself. Now, I'm going to preface this section by saying that while I did really like this movie, this video is not necessarily going to be a recommendation video because this is not a movie for everybody. Even some fans in horror do not like this kind of horror movie. So this is less a recommendation video and more of a I saw something awesome and I just needed to talk about it type video. If you are going to check it out, what I do need to let you know is there is a lot of violence, and there's a lot of violence towards women in this movie. And unfortunately, it's not all just the unaliving, stabby kind of violence either. There's the other kind of violence as well, if you catch my drift. And if that's something that really bothers you, that you just can't stomach, don't watch this, because there's quite a few acts of that. In particular, there's one scene that is rather gratuitous and especially heinous, and if you don't got the stomach for that kind of thing, you'll be very upset with this movie and me if you go off of my recommendation, so to speak. So, a million warnings. Only check out the movie at your own risk. The core of this movie's story is as simple as it gets. It's just Jim and Kat trying to find each other and survive this vicious outbreak. And on paper, that sounds pretty simple, right? And on the surface, when you watch the movie, that's all it is. Just a simple horror story of this couple trying to get to each other and survive these awful, horrible things. But alongside that story is some messaging. It's not a particularly deep movie or a smart movie, but there is some messaging here. There's theming about what human beings will be like when they're stripped down to their baser instincts. Theming about governmental incompetence during a crisis. During that time period, we were all anxious and worried, frustrated and afraid, and this movie encapsulates that and puts it onto the screen in like this brutal, exaggerated fashion. And I think that's why when it's over, it just feels so releasing, and it probably was at the time as well. I don't want to say too much about this movie because, and again, this video was not a direct recommendation. This is just me talking about it. But if you do decide to go out, seek it out, and check it out, I want to keep it as fresh as possible for you. Because if I say too much, it would spoil it, I think. Because at the end of the day, it is a pretty simple movie on the surface. So just talking about it on a basic level can kind of spoil it. So I'm going to not say too much, but just know that if you're not too into this movie, it totally makes sense because art is subjective, and that's the beautiful thing about art. It can be this wholesome, beautiful thing that just, it makes you feel good. And then there's art that is unflinching, unforgiving, brutal, and grotesque, and just makes you feel bad. If it gets a reaction out of you on either side of the spectrum, it's art. And the sadness is undoubtedly a grotesque, unflinching art piece that just makes you feel awful coming out of it. And I've said before that I love it when horror does that. I love when I come away from a horror movie and I go, oh, that made me feel bad. I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know. I like it when a movie does that. And if you do too, then yeah, you'll probably love it just like I did. But if you've seen it already, let me know what you thought down in the comments. Let's talk everything foreign horror, modern horror, classic horror, zombie movies, the sadness, and everything like that down in the comments. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care.